Hello, I'm Rashid Stevens, and you're watching The Crystal Beauty Show, live here in Hollywood. Awesome show, awesome host, awesome everybody, even awesome me.
Welcome to The Crystal Beauty Show. Welcome to The Crystal Beauty Show. Today with us we have Mr. Victor Viyuoh. He's a household name, an African filmmaker who has won a lot of awards recently on his movie NINAH'S Dowry. We are very honored to have him as the guest in this episode of the show. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned. Welcome to the Crystal Beauty Show. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming. I've been wanting to interview for forever. I'm glad you're finally here.
Thank you.
So, since the release of NINAH'S Dowry, should we say that you haven't slept yet?
Yes, in a good way. Before the release of NINAH'S Dowry, I hadn't slept either, but not in a good way. This time around, it's because one has been really busy. So it's been wonderful.
Great. So you recently went to New York for the screening of NINAH'S Dowry. How was the reaction from the fans and viewers?
Oh, it was excellent. One way for me, at least, to gauge reaction is how the Q&A goes afterwards. And it was very passionate. No one left the theater after the screening. Everyone stayed behind for the Q&A, and we were actually kicked out of the hall. Wow. And we stayed kind of at the entrance. We got kicked out of the entrance again, and we stayed in the main lobby. And I was talking to people 3 hours after the screening, so it was wonderful.
Wow. So remind us, how many awards has this movie gotten so far?
It has won at least more than 30 awards so far.
Wow.
That it has won, yes.
Wow.
National, international awards, yes.
And how does that make you feel?
It's humbling, because I didn't expect all of this kind of attention. In fact, when we were making the movie, we didn't even think that we would be able to finish the film. So to see, the kind of, attention that it has gotten, all the achievement it has received, I think it's humbling, and I'm happy, not for myself, but I'm happy for the actors, the crew, the sacrifices that they made over the years, because it didn't take us, a short time to make this film. So I'm happy for all of them, I'm glad that at least they were rewarded for all the sacrifices.
Nice. So what was the inspiration behind this movie?
The movie is actually it's inspired by a true story. My cousin actually called me once when I was visiting Cameroon trying to raise money for a different movie. She insisted on seeing me. And when I went over, she told me this horrible story of what happened to her. And it was shocking, because these were things that happened to her in my village, where I grew up. And I grew up in this place and knew these people. And she recounted how her husband was abusive, he would beat her from 2 miles, we're talking about beating that almost rival like a sporting event. Nobody would say anything, so that really stayed with me.
So when you look back at all these achievements and awards that you've gotten, how does it make you feel?
Oh, it really it's just humbling,
Yeah.
The tough thing about the achievement and the awards is that, I'm glad that the film is getting attention. I'm glad that the work is getting attention. I'm glad that, the cause is getting attention, It's kind of double-edged, because, I would rather get attention for something else, maybe a more upbeat movie, So it's tough, I really can't feel I don't feel too good in terms of that, it's a tough thing that happens, It's a tough situation, So people will always come to me and say that, wow, it's very powerful. It's unfortunate that it had to be. And that's how I feel, I'm glad that, it's getting the attention, but it's unfortunate that a movie like this had to be made. But I feel like I was compelled. It had to be made.
Okay.
Yes.
So, what are the plans for this movie? Like, where do you want this movie to go?
Oh, I would love I would love as many people to see the movie as possible, especially in Cameroon. And right now, the next step is it's going to play in a couple of places. It's going to play in Canada and in Germany.
Okay.
I actually have been the one who stopped sending it out because people have been requesting it. So I'm trying to figure out a kind of a distribution mode, to get the movie out there. I don't just want to sit on it and then be sending out just to festivals, I would like for it to actually be seen by as many people as possible. And there's also the possibility after the New York screening that the UN might screen the film. So if that happens, again, that's going to be, I think, great because the whole goal is to get as many people to see the film as possible, to try to affect change.
Wow. Congratulations once more.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about your plans on screening this movie back in Cameroon.
Right now, we've partnered with Gopher, Renee Etat, and we're hoping that the film gets screened in Cameroon. The plan currently is to get a sponsor because it costs money to screen the film there. To get a sponsor because I don't know how much support we can count on from the government. I'm not that well connected. I'm hoping that the government, either the Ministry of Culture, the Ministry of Women's Affairs, some of those ministries, I hope we can work together and screen the film, hopefully do a launch this year and possibly next year during Women's Month. I would love to see something where, the Ministry of Women's Affairs says, okay, hey, we want to show this film, in honor of women and set up screenings all over the country in all the regions. I would love to see something like that happen. So we're working on it. We definitely want the film to launch in Cameroon this year because it has been too long.
I know.
Yes.
So for our viewers who want to watch this film, how can they watch it? Where can they grab a copy?
Right now it's tough. It's not yet out,
Okay.
But then the thing is, they can let me know on Facebook. They can get in touch with us and let us know because what I would love to do is, even if I can secure an outside distributor, I'm very open to self-distributing. I would love to pick 10, 15 U.S. cities. I'm talking about in the North America. Maybe some cities in Canada, maybe some cities in Europe, and set up screening. Maybe rent space. And then let people know because the key is if people will show up, I don't just want to set up a screening and nobody shows up. If people will show up to the screening, 100 people, 150 people, 200 people, I will set up screenings all over the U.S. and have the film shown there. We'll probably have to go through that process before we get to the point where we kind of do like streaming online or DVD. We have to exhaust the possibility of theatrical distribution.
So when you did this movie, NINAH'S Dowry, I'm very sure there were specific people that were very instrumental to making this project a reality. Who are those people and what would you like to tell them?
Oh, first of all, it's a big thank you to everyone who contributed to making the film possible. It's tough to call names and leave out some people, but I'll go ahead and just name some people that I've not mentioned very often. Of course, I'll start with my wife. She was there from the very beginning. She helped when we were trying to put the funds together. I'll mention Hasu Patel, who came in with the first investment. Hasu Patel came with the first investment. I'll mention Roland, who came in, with the second investment. These were key times when we've been struggling for months, actually for a couple of years, trying to get funders, and there was nobody coming in. So it was key for them. I'll also mention my friend in England, Dr. Ndumu, Abongwa, we call him Zico. He, at a very crucial point, when everything had come to a standstill, I had tried I've gone to Cameroon several times to film, so many obstacles that stopped me from filming, and he called and he offered, that if I could find, if I could get myself together and get myself to Cameroon, he will get me money to film. And he did. He held on to his word and he sent me money, without which we would not have filmed, And I also mentioned my editor, Andrew Groves. He believed in the project. When I came back from Cameroon, believe it or not, I could not buy a pencil. I could not afford to buy a pencil. But I handed him the film and I told him that, listen, we need a cut within 3 weeks in order to apply for post-production funding. And somehow he was the one who bought, drives. He bought everything and set everything up and cut the film. He cut it, and within 3 weeks, we had a rough cut. So people like that who believed in the project, Daniel Tan, who came in when we picture locked and we didn't have any way to go, any more money to move forward. We had it on the shelf for a year. Daniel Tan read about us, on the GFI blog, and he watched the film and he loved what we had done so far, and he came up with ideas. He not only put his own money in it, but he helped us come up with ideas like in terms of crowdfunding and push that. So all those people, his family in Singapore, who helped to make this possible, people all over, there's so many people that I would love to thank, Anurin, Vivian, people that, everybody, Wilson, there were so many people, thank you for making it possible.
Okay. So now that you're done with NINAH'S Dowry, do you have any other projects in the shelf that you want to work on next?
Absolutely. I actually have the project that I was trying to put together before NINAH'S Dowry. It's called 50/50. We're thinking about changing the name to Njangi because there was a Hollywood movie that came out a few years ago named 50/50. But it's about a U.S. educated woman who returns to her village to find that when her dad died, her mom's house was taken away because women cannot inherit property. So in trying to recover the house, she ends up organizing a women's rebellion against the chief and the men of the village.
Oh, wow.
So that's the one that I really am like bent on making next. But I do have a documentary called The Photograph that I'm in the process of making right now. We got backing from Hot Dogs Blue Eyes in Toronto. So we have a little bit of money to make the film. And I think it's very timely because it deals with the Islam and Christianity, given what's been happening, in Nigeria and Cameroon. It's funny because 2-3 years ago when I was putting the project together, in application, I was talking about Boko Haram and groups like that, and people thought I was crazy. They thought, because at the time they were just a small, group on the edge. Nobody really paid attention to them, and look at what is happening right now.
So tell us how you got into filmmaking.
Oh, that's a good one. How I got into filmmaking. I remember the first image, when as a film image I had, it was with my father, in Limbe. I don't know, people might remember, some people, this might date me as well. There was a cinema hall in Limbe called Potokri. It was right next to what do they call it? A field, like football field, a stadium.
Yeah.
Yes. And I remember the first image was that was a close-up of a cowboy. And I was amazed. I was with my father. And I remember that very powerfully because that was the last image. That's the last image I have of my father when he was alive. So he passed away, after that. And but the joy, the passion, the love of film continued. I didn't know that, one could study filmmaking. So when I came to the US, I came to study electrical engineering. But I remember when I was in college, I was buying, books at the bookstore, and I saw a section that said screenwriting. I'm like, what? So I took a screenwriting class, and I could not believe that people got credit for that.
Yeah.
And I felt like, wow, this was it for me. So afterwards, I kind of slowly moved away, from engineering. When I graduated, I went to, I got a scholarship to study creative writing, and then after that, I went to film school. So it's been a long journey, but I'm glad I took it.
Nice. So, what is your relationship with Hollywood? Have you worked on any Hollywood movies yet?
I can say, yeah, I've worked with Hollywood, but it's not really in the sense that, I've made a Hollywood movie. I mean, I shot a film here in LA, in 2005. It's called Doing the LA Thing, so that's probably as active as I've been in Hollywood. I work, at a studio where we prepare digital cinema packages for screening, so we watch all the big movies before they come and we make sure that everything is fine. So that's how, that's really the closest relationship I have with Hollywood. At the moment, because of 50/50, we're trying to see if we can get some people, we have some partners in Hollywood who are on board to support us to try to make it happen. So, but I'm not so focused about Hollywood. I am here. Maybe I should focus a little bit more about that, but my interest is in telling, moving stories, especially Africa-themed stories, stories that are set in Africa, If Hollywood can help me do that, that would be wonderful. They had trouble with, 50/50, because after film school, my short film, Botuko, was doing very well. It was nominated for a Student Academy Award. It premiered in Venice. It was almost every festival wanted the film. And then I had the script, that also won an award and, was doing quite well. Except Hollywood didn't know what to do with an African film. You see, that's why, I still have the script, it's still not made because they were like, what do we do with this? Do you have something else, Maybe if I was smart, I would have come up with an idea to shoot here in Hollywood, maybe that's what it is. But I went with my heart, and my heart said that, make a movie about Africa, make a movie that has, some substance to it.
So, in the recent interview you did in New York, you mentioned something about training. So, can you tell us more about that? How do you intend to do that?
Oh, ideally, I would love to set up a program in Cameroon, especially because I am from Cameroon.
Yeah.
But it's going to be kind of tailored, for all of Africa. Anyone in Africa who's interested in filmmaking, they can come in there and study and learn filmmaking. And I want it to be a program that has both that can, that's open to almost everyone. People who are educated and people who don't have as much education as they would want, because there are people who don't have the education already, who still have talent in filmmaking.
Yeah.
I think they should be able to learn the craft and practice it. And there are people who want to have degrees in certificates in filmmaking, and they've gone through O levels, A levels, the back and maybe first degrees, and they want to go even further in filmmaking.
Yeah.
So I want that to the kind of program I want to set up. The kind of training I want to set up will be geared towards everyone. But then, I think that what would be great is my idea is to try to get people that I know in Hollywood, get in touch with my film school and see what kind of backing, what kind of support I can get, so that people who are here, professors, filmmakers, can come in to Cameroon. Maybe they can come on a vacation, in the summer, and then maybe teach a master class at our film school, or, things like that, make it open so that, it's the training is kind of, international, whether the, professionals from Europe, from the US, Canada, other parts of Africa, they can come in, train, give, whether it's master class or maybe courses, one semester at a time, and also kind of have an exchange program where film students can come and spend time at my alma mater, and then, for a semester or a summer, and take classes and then go back to Cameroon. And maybe professors too can come and spend time and just figure out how professors here teach courses and then go back, So I would love something like that. I want a situation where we build a talent pool in terms of technicians, where it's seamless, where people, if a Hollywood movie wants to shoot in Cameroon, they don't have to worry about technicians. The technicians that they have there should be at the same caliber as the technicians that are working in Hollywood, because we have everything. Cameroon is a rich country. We have, whether it's ocean, beaches that we have, mountains, rainforests, we have everything, So, but the only thing we don't have is snow. You see, so the terrain, we have desert, whatever they want to shoot, So people can come and shoot their films, commercials, kind of, the way that, people do it in South Africa, So why not Cameroon, That's kind of the goal. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Nice. So, when you're not doing film-related things, what else do you do with your spare time?
Oh, I have a family, so I spend time with my boys, and then it's tough because almost everything is film-related. I'm either doing film or I'm reading novels, I'm reading, stories or writing. Usually, when I'm in Cameroon, that's usually when, sometimes I step away from, film because I'm into I'm kind of a farmer. I'm a kind of farm boy, kind of thing. So I love cattle, so I raise cattle, so I have that, So that's kind of what, I'm passionate about raising cattle, Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. So do you have any last words for our Cameroonian film lovers watching this right now?
Absolutely. My advice is, keep watching movies. Especially, please support Cameroonian movies. Support African films in general. If you hear that there's a Cameroonian movie, please find the time to come out. Because it saddens me, to see that when you go to events, you don't find Cameroonians. I'm sorry. We were at the Lincoln Center, we screened the film at the Lincoln Center. There was one Cameroonian present in the audience afterwards, when we talked to him. One. And there was another screening there was a film from, I think it was from Guinea-Bissau or something like that. And let me tell you, the audience was filled with people from Guinea-Bissau. You could see them, they came out, they celebrated their country, they celebrated their film, It's not it's not about the filmmaker. It's about the people. It's about the culture. It's about, this is us, And if we don't support us, who do we expect, to support us, If we want to take our film, if we want to take our industry, our films to the next level, it has to start with us, It has to start with us. Almost every community in the world supports their own. If an Indian film opens in the US, guess what? You see Indians at the screening. A friend of mine who is a filmmaker from Uganda, I don't think it's an African thing, Unfortunately, it might be a Cameroonian thing.
Yeah.
Because a friend of mine who is from Uganda, he said that he screened his film in Boston. and it was set up by Ugandans. They paid for everything, they paid for advertising, they paid for the whole, everything. All he did was show up his film, and the room was, the theater was packed. You see, it would be amazing if Cameroonians can support other Cameroonians, not just film, whatever it is, music, whatever it is, right? Literature, whatever it is, Cameroonians should support Cameroonians. Africans should support Africans. And because that's where it starts. I think if you can't count on your own, who can you count on? So please, just go out there, support. They're trying. Other filmmakers are trying to make the best film that they can. Support them. The quality will only improve.
So, what do you think about our Cameroonian film industry?
Well, I'm always hopeful.
Okay.
You see, I'm always hopeful. I know that there's this great, interest. There's like people are passionate. People are passionate about, filmmaking in Cameroon. People are enthusiastic. Young people are like, pushing, to make movies, But then the only thing, my main concern is just that, people should get training, because I think almost in any craft, people train before they release. Filmmaking is one of the few places where people just get up from whatever they're doing and they go out and they make a movie, because they think that they can, And I don't know. I'm sure there are rare cases where people do that and they're successful, But please, train, because training can only improve, the process. And there are other issues in the industry that they're dealing with, and I think that it's just with time that they're going to figure out, and resolve some of these issues.
So, just to thank you for being on the show, the Crystal Beauty Show, and the team would like to give you this as an
thank you very much
for you being here.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, it looks very nice. Excellent. Crystal Beauty Show.
I hope you loved the interview. Mr. Victor definitely is going to be on the show again because he has a lot of projects coming up. As usual, thank you so much for your time. Follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page. And until next time, this is Crystal saying bye-bye.